The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, hello, good morning to all. Thank you very much for being with us today. I hope it will be a good start into a new week. So just before we start, I would like to inform you that the webinar is recorded for the communication purposes, also for those who could not attend today. So welcome to the second webinar of the PULSATE Technology Transfer Open Call, organized together with one of PULSATE project partners, MTC. So today's special guest will come to the introduction later on, will present to you the benefits of PULSATE's program with the focus on the technical support. And we will then go through the main criteria you need to meet to be eligible in this open call. We'll also go through the selection process and say as well a few words on how to write a successful, eligible proposal. At the end of the presentation of this webinar, there will be also plenty of time for your questions. So if you have any, we have my colleague Alessandra today with us, who is dealing with the technical side of the webinar. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please write them in the chat, and then at the end, we'll be able to collect, read and answer all your questions. Okay. So a little bit of introduction at the beginning. My name is Maria Karpilowska. I'm a junior project manager at Funding Box, involved, of course, in the PULSATE project. I'm also engaged in another photonics project, Photon Hub, and also in an EdTech project. So this is about me. And a few words about Funding Box. In PULSATE, we are responsible mainly for the tasks related to the management of open calls, but Funding Box is also a bit more than that. We are a platform providing multiple funding opportunities. On the one hand, we are an ecosystem for entrepreneurs where we share the deep tech know-how. We enable connections and deliver tools. We are currently one of the largest European deep tech ecosystems. And on the other hand, we provide solutions for corporates and investors, helping with the identification and integration of startups or SMEs. And by creating what we call the Funding Champions deal, we support the European SMEs and startups who are looking for initiatives and opportunities such as PULSATE. We are now involved in over 50 projects addressing different sectors, with PULSATE in the manufacturing sector under the umbrella initiative I4MS, which aims at the digitalization of the European manufacturing industry, with laser and photonics technology being, of course, a very important part of it. And now I'd like to give floor to our special guest today, Tian.
Yep, thank you, Maria. Yep, cool. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tian Long Si, and I'm the technology manager at the MTC with the laser processing group here. So we have involved in multiple different projects around laser surface texturing. As you can see there, project like Shark, Prometheus, Mantoserve, and we are also part of the consortium for the PULSATE project. So within the project, we mainly focusing on the delivery and execution of the support service for the competitions that is running, like the one that you guys are looking to apply, and also to provide technical support in all aspects of laser-based, manufacturing, and also some of the other ancillary supports like, metrology and digital engineering, etc. Next, please. Yeah, so just to give you a bit of an overview, so the MTC is one of the 7 high manufacturing catapult center in the UK. There is 7 of us, as you can see on the map there. So we are relatively new, and we started in 2011. And we are actually founded by 3 universities, which is Birmingham, Loughborough, and Nottingham universities, together with TWI. So the whole ethos or concept of the MTC is actually to bridge the valley of death, where we scout and work with universities around the UK and also around Europe to look for technologies and ideas that are promising, and then we push them along the TRL level so that hopefully they could be implemented in industry. So we also provide a lot of process innovation ideas, cultivations, and most importantly, a lot of training as well to train up apprentices so that they are equipped with the implementation and advancement of these new manufacturing processes. And obviously, laser-based manufacturing is one of the key parts in training that we provide as well. Next, please. So the within the MTC, we work in a wide range of different sectors, as you can see there. Although we started off the company concentrating mainly in aerospace, but throughout the years we have diversified our business offering into other sectors, and now we do things in the electronics, oil and gas, food and drinks, etc. So at the MTC, the way we work and we engage with customers comes in, I would say, 3 different aspects. So it can be a one-to-one company projects that individual companies can just come directly to us and work with us. We also work with companies through collaborative CR&D, like the one in PULSATE, Shark, and all the others, a lot of European funded or even nationally UK government funded projects. We also work on a membership basis as well, where company that will want to forge a more long-term working relationship with the MTC can consider join as a member, and obviously with different levels of membership they will be able to access various different levels of services and also participate in some of the internal research projects that we do as well. Next, please. Yeah. So in a nutshell, MTC's research department can be, I would say, broadly grouped into 3 different bigger groups. So we have the component manufacturing group, which is where the laser processing group sits in. So within this group, we have the additive manufacturing, the non-conventional machining, which laser sits in, and also high integrity fabrication. So this department basically looks at manufacturing technology. So what we call it as a group that look at how to make things. Then we have the assembly system group, where this group basically looks at how we actually put the different manufacturing technologies that is required together to form a cohesive and uniform manufacturing line. So in there you have the advanced tooling and fixturing group, the electronics manufacturing, and also robotics and automation systems. So the last research group within the MTC is what we call it as the data system group. So this is the group where it looks at linking the different machines or equipment within a complete manufacturing line to create a cohesive data transfer working relations. So within there you have the design and simulation, the manufacturing informatics, and metrology and NDT. Next. Yeah, so within the PULSATE project, so the aim of the project is actually for us to foster or encourage companies, especially SMEs, in venturing into laser-based additive, advanced additive manufacturing. So that covers various different processes like cutting, drilling, welding, additive manufacturing, etc. So because the in Europe, photonics manufacturing is considered as one of the key manufacturing advancement processes that European manufacturers are actually very, very well versed in. So therefore, and there is also obviously a lot of potential for this particular technology, and hence the project. So next, please. Yeah. So the technology itself actually brings in a lot of benefits, additional benefits, when it comes to not just the versatility and also applicability of it to various different materials, etc., but it's also the ability of the technology to be digitized and automated, which will create a much more better production environment for manufacturing in Europe. So as you can see from the slides there, LBAAM technology can be used in a lot of different sectors or applications, anything from aerospace to electronics to automotive, marine, medical, food and drink, etc. So the sectors or market that you can actually use these manufacturing processes is huge, and there is always potential and possibility to implement or adapt the technology depending on, I would say, creativity of, you guys, and, how the sort of disruptive, I would say, thoughts or thinking that you can apply to those particular markets or sectors. Next, please. So the PULSATE project has a consortium of 7 partners, 2, 4, 6, 8, sorry, 9 partners, and it consists of 6 RTOs, as you can see there. We have AMON, SIMTEF, CEA, IWS, FTMC, and MTC, which dotted around Europe, which I think we have a relatively nice spread that covers pretty much the whole of Europe. And obviously the project is also supported by Funding Box, EPIC and Cresco, in terms of the development of the digital agora and the marketplace, as what we will see later on in the presentation. Next, please. Yep. So this is kind of like a snapshot of one of the other key areas or activities that we will be doing, in this project. So in addition to the competitions that we are running, which is currently open for application, the project also aims to create a community / marketplace, what we term it as a digital agora, so that companies, whether companies that are offering, I would say, services or equipment or business, or even companies that are interested in knowing a little bit more about the the LBAAM technologies and what it can do, etc., can, be part of this community and family, so that you can then, reach out, for collaborators, for potential suppliers, or even, ask questions, have, some consultancy with either RTOs or companies, and most importantly as well, to access training materials, whether that is paid or free, so that you can equip yourself with the latest development, or even potentially have your workforce to be up to date to the, the technology, so that you can easily implement those within your business. Yep, next, please.
Okay, I think this is mine.
Yep.
So we would like to tell you a few words about PULSATE open calls. So the open calls in PULSATE project are like this very direct answer to the PULSATE mission, so to fostering the development and uptake of laser technology by European manufacturing industries. So by the end of the project lifetime, PULSATE will have launched 4 open calls, and we'll have supported around 62 projects in like the adoption and experimentation in laser-based advanced and manufacturing technology, and we will have distributed over 4 million euros in funding. So under PULSATE projects open calls, we have 2 modalities. The first one is the open call for technology transfer experiments. So the support program in this case lasts 13 months with the funding up to 150,000 euros per experiment. And what is very important, the experiments are formed by consortia. So in order to apply in this open call and to be eligible, you need a consortium formed by a minimum of 2 companies, a technology provider and the adopter or end user, the manufacturing company who uses the technology. So the first open call for technology transfer experiments was closed last year, and now the winners of this open call are in the support program. You can check who they are in PULSATE communities and read the success stories of those experiments that we are proudly supporting now. So the second type of open calls under PULSATE are calls for adopters, so SMEs that adopt a technology, a laser-based technology, and the goal of the support program, which is much shorter in this case, only 3 months, is to help the SMEs to assess the feasibility of the adoption of laser-based technology into their business model and production environment. The funding in this case is also lower. It's up to 25,000 euros per adopter. The first open call for adopters use cases was closed last month, and the support program will be launched in September this year. And under this link, you will find more information on the currently opened and the remaining PULSATE open calls, the technology transfer experiment open call, and also the adopters use cases. Okay, and here we move on to the benefits of the open call that we are focusing on today. So the second technology transfer experiment open call. And Tian, I think this one is for you.
Yep. So I guess a lot of you might have sort of like questions or in your mind as to where this is just another European funded project and stuff like that. But I would like to say that this particular funding, it will be very different from the ones that you were used to in terms of Horizon 2020 or even Horizon Europe. Just the fact that in addition to just the difference in the value of the projects, you were also actually getting additional support as well as part of the the projects. So within the PULSATE TTE funding call, in addition to the 150k funding per experiment, you will also be given technical support, or what we call it as a mentor, that will be supporting you throughout the whole duration of the project. And in addition as well, you will get business mentoring support, which is going to be led by Funding Box. So that's why the project itself is actually I would say quite interesting, especially for SMEs that are new to the particular technology or application, because you will actually be guided throughout your journey of the exploration and implementation, both technically and also business wise. And in addition to that as well, you will get a lot of media exposure, because that will be part of the activities that we will be doing for the project, is to disseminate success stories, etc. from projects through the funding call, which will then, help to boost the, I would say, your company's credential in, the LBAM, technology, whether that as a business offering, or even as a, I would say, unique selling point to your particular products or components. And last but not least as well, we will also be organizing, private and public investment, I would say matchmaking or even events and stuff, which you will also have access to as well. So on the slides there, you can see that, we have categorized the, I would say, technology into 4 main key areas, where we had the high power laser application, micro nanofabrication, additive manufacturing, and LBAM digitization. So as you can see there, we have multiple RTOs from the consortium that will be able to provide technical supports in all of those areas. Next, please. Yeah, so, and this is just a little bit more breakdown on the, the sort of processes that we are talking about when we refer to, what comes under high power laser based application and vice versa. So I'm not going to read out the list, as you can obviously have a look at that, later and stuff, but, please, make note of that when you are doing your application, because I believe that this will be one of the questions that will be on the application form. And if not, it will be something that if you could highlight that in your application, it will help us, to assign the right mentor based on the, the proposals that you are proposing. Next, please. Yeah, so just to give you guys a bit of an I wouldn't say overview, but kind of like a foot, things for thoughts, when it comes to forming or looking at, the sort of projects or project ideas that you can potentially do. So if you look at the whole laser based manufacturing as a whole, you can see that it, as on the diagram there, it consists of several different subcategories where we can, do research or, improvement on. So obviously you have the very bottom left there with the laser source, where, research can be done, on looking at new laser sources or maybe even tweaking existing laser sources to fit the needs or requirement of, let's say, doing a new materials, etc., etc. Then if you move the next level up, then you have the laser system, which consists of various things such as beam delivery, beam manipulation methods, part manipulation methods that can be CNC or robotic based, sensors to help improve the manufacturing process, whether that is for control or for automated self-correction needs, and obviously have the control system and also the CAD/CAM programming. So it can be an improvement of any one of these, or it can be a combination of any one of these. And if you go beyond the laser system, then you start to look at things like the digital aspects of the process, where things like digital infrastructure that will aid the laser-based processing, simulation, whether that is for process parameter simulation or whether that is for process simulation, surface engineering functionality simulation, etc. That can also be a relevant aspects for research. AI and machine learning as well can be also part of the research area. And if you move on to the operational requirement, then you start to have things like metrology, metallurgy standards and frameworks. So within there, you will, I think that can also be partly, like especially the metrology aspects, can be partly linked to the sensors in the laser system. So it can be an integrated metrology solution for a process if there is a need. for the particular application that you're thinking of. And obviously, last but not least, the things that you need to consider as well is the business requirement for the particular project that you were thinking of. So what is the type of case study and application that you are going to use? Because as what Maria was saying before, for this particular call, you do need to have an end user as part of the consortium member. So that particular component in your application is particularly important, because that demonstrate the need or of the particular proposed project, rather than a pure technology push, because that is something that we are trying to avoid. Or I mean, yeah, basically we as part of the evaluation process, we will consider that as a highly critical component. And also things like is the proposed project that you were looking at involves any process simplification or process, or would it result in cost cutting to the process? Or if it's not reducing any cost to the process, what sort of additional benefits that you are going to get out of that implementations? And that can also be in the form of any type of business model that you can think of and trying to implement, and also things like supply chain consideration, etc. Meaning, is it going to be a project where you as a supplier will be supplying the technology to the particular end user, or it will be through a third party where they then access the service, etc., etc. So I mean, those are all, I would say, relevant areas and also relevant aspects or topics that you will need to consider as part of your application process. Yep. And I think the next slide will fall back to you, Maria.
Yes, so thank you, Tian, for this technical insight. I'll come back to those areas of research or experimentation and how they are presented in the application form later on, right? We'll come back to that. But now I'd like to come back to those eligibility criteria that we've mentioned at the beginning. So first of all, the technology transfer experiments are formed as consortia because I think Tian will agree this is like the most natural setup and environment for demonstrating the use of laser technologies and the benefits it's bring to both the end user and the technology providers. So the consortia have to be composed by minimum 2 companies, 2 SMEs or slightly bigger companies, and this is very important. The companies have to be SMEs or slightly bigger companies, and only these 2 types of companies may apply. And those 2 companies will play the different roles in the consortium. So there has to be a technology provider and there has to be an adopter and user of the technology, so a manufacturing company. And in each consortium, there must be a minimum 1 manufacturing company. And as I said, a consortium has to be composed by minimum 2 companies. So there may be 3 if necessary, right? If justified. Okay. If you do not have a partner to apply with, and we get a lot of questions and requests like that, there is already a matchmaking event planned to take place on the 6th of July Here you have the registration link, but you can find this registration link also in PULSATE Matchmaking community, also on the Open Call website, as well as on the project website. Later on, I'll show you where to find it. You can also drop us an email at pulsate@pulsate.eu requesting to take part in the matchmaking. So if you do not have a partner to apply with, don't worry. The consortium, as a consortium, will do our best to find a partner for you. And about the legal status, so SMEs or companies, I'd like to say a few words about that. So there are two criteria that we take into account when we assess your legal status. So there is head count and annual turnover or balance sheet total. So the second criterion is or, but both criteria, headcount and the second one, have to be met. So here you can see the exact numbers. So the limits we are going to check. So for SMEs, this is headcount. The headcount is less than 250. For slightly bigger companies, less than 500. For annual turnover, for the second criterion, this is like in total less or equal to 100 million euro, or balance sheet total cannot go over 86 million euro. And so these are the maximum numbers that guarantee you the status, SME or slightly bigger status. And of course, these numbers are in compliance with the official European Commission guidelines. And please remember that this counts for all your partner and affiliate entities as well. So when you assess those numbers, you need to take into account all your subsidiaries and linked enterprises and partner enterprises as well. And one more thing to be aware of here, research and technology organizations for SMEs are not eligible for this call, as we're addressing here specifically small and medium or slightly bigger enterprises. The only thing a different kind of company may be included is through subcontracting, but I'll come back to that when I'll be talking about the budget. So all those aspects, like the legal status aspects and eligibility criteria, are included in the frequently asked questions document, which is on the Open Call website. As I already said, I'll show you later on how and where to find all the documents and all other references. Okay, in terms of geographical scope, as this is an EU-funded project, of course, the companies registered in all the member states of the European Union and their overseas countries and territories are eligible. Also, companies registered in countries associated to Horizon 2020, here you can see the list, and companies registered in the UK are also eligible for this to apply in this open call, right? Okay, and here we've got the list of areas of experimentation, and I'll give voice back to Tian to take you through the list, right?
Yep, thanks, Maria. So, right, as part of the application process as well, in one of the questions, you will also be asked to select one or multiple of these areas of experimentation. So I think this slide is basically just to give you a little bit of a I would say, clarification of what each of this section means. And I believe that in the application process, sorry, the Q&A section as well, these will also be outlined if you forget later on. So in the area of laser equipment integration and interoperability and robust automation, so the sort of things that we are referring to here is things related to integration of LBAM equipment, whether that will be hardware or software development, to sort of like, you know, fit into specific end users, case studies or components or production. So things like, you know, to make it roll to roll, or to make it 2.5D only, or to make it completely 3D, or to do parallel processing and stuff like that. So that will fit under this category. So in the area of technology for cost-effective laser-based manufacturing, so that will be things like, you know, any ancillary or support, I would say, whether that is sensors, machine visions and stuff like that, or things that are related to prices of component or laser sources, or even delivery methods that will help to reduce the cost of the manufacturing process, will sit within this category. First part right and zero defect laser-based production will basically involve sensing and monitoring for laser-based manufacturing technology. And the flexible technology for small to large batches will involve things like, you know, multi-beam processing, you know, high power laser sources for parallel processing, or multi-processing heads, etc. So anything to help, you know, any research or projects related to, you know, improving or increasing the efficiency of laser-based manufacturing to tackle large batch processing. And the last area of experimental category is the CAD to PLM data integration and flow. So this one basically deals with anything digital, whether that is digital twin or data-driven processes. So as you can see, you know, it's very common that you will have projects that will involve multiple areas of experimentation, and that is fine. So what we ask you guys to do is to please select the relevant ones, which is relevant to what you're proposing, because this will also assist us in assigning the correct mentor to your project as close as we can. If you have only, I would say, you know, just one area experimented that's relevant to your project, that is also fine, you know, which that simplifies our mentor assignment a lot easier. Yeah, in that case. Next slide, please, Maria. Yep. So the next thing that we want to briefly talk about is the TRL level for the proposal projects. So within this call, we are aiming, you know, submissions or projects to be between TRL 5 and 7. So i.e. you can start from 5, and then we're hoping that the project will deliver, you know, an outcome of TRL 7. So those are just the definition there, just in case you need to know or benchmark yourself against those TRL. So during the application process, you know, in this particular section, what we will need from you guys is evidence or proof or statements that you know, why you think your particular proposal sits in TRL 5 to start with, you know, any prior work or any existing equipment or technologies or activities that you have done in-house or prior to the application that will demonstrate TRL 5. And then obviously, you know, through the proposal, you should be able to demonstrate that, you know, the final outcome of the project will land you in TRL 7. So yeah, so that is all in the TRL section. Next, please.
Yes, so thank you, Tian. In this slide, there is a kind of summary of what is required to apply with an eligible proposal. So as you've heard, and as you can see here, it's like a combination of those formal requirements, legal status, composition of your consortium, with the technical requirements that Tian has just mentioned. So in terms of consortium composition, let's recap. Minimum 2 companies, minimum 1 manufacturing SME and technology provider. In terms of legal status, only SMEs or slightly bigger companies may apply, and they have to be registered in one of the EU member states or associated countries or the UK. And in terms of those technical requirements, please remember to select at least 1 experimentation area, and also indicate your TRL level, but also in your proposal, you must be able to prove, to justify the indicated TRL level. And with the combination of all those factors, your proposal, we may not say it will be successful because that depends on the external evaluation process, but we may definitely say that if all those criteria are met, your proposal will be eligible. Okay, so now I'd like to tell you a few words about how to apply. So we accept applications only through an online form that you'll find under the address that you can see here. So this is our Open Call website. You just click on the Apply Now button, and that takes you to the application form. But we strongly advise, our advice is always to have a look first at the Read First and Get Help sections of the website, where you'll find more documents and information and reference links to take you through the process. I'll come back to those 2 sections later on. So this open call will close on the 29th of July. And what happens next? Next, we've got the selection process, which will take 3 months in total. By the end of October, we should have the final open call results. Then we'll have almost 2 months for signing the sub-grant agreements with the winners, with the winning experiments, and the 13-month support program will start in January 2023. So here you have a more detailed breakdown of all those steps. The 29th of July is a very important date. This is the deadline for submission. The next step is the eligibility check and the experts evaluation. Then we'll proceed with the jury day in the 3rd week of September, where the consortium partners will be able to ask more questions to the pitching experiments. And then we come to the final step, so formal check and sub-grant agreement signature. So when you click on the Apply Now button on the Open Call website, you'll see like 7 sections of the application form. So the first 2 are pretty straightforward, but then we come to the 3 very important sections, which are the criteria that are going to be evaluated by external evaluators. Okay, so external evaluation is carried out by experts in the photonics industry, nominated by the consortium partners. The experts are independent of the PULSATE consortium, of the PULSATE project, and they will be reviewing and assessing these three criteria: excellence, impact, and implementation. So the key aspects you should pay attention to. Of course, in the guide for applicants, you will find a more detailed description of those three criteria and how they are going to be evaluated. But here, just a few more details. So the excellence, this criterion focuses basically on the technology, the innovation. So in this section of the application form, you should be able to describe the technology behind your experiments. You should be able to prove that that your experiment is on the TRL level that you've indicated, that this TRL level is actually relevant to your proposal, because this is what external evaluators will be looking at. You should indicate at least one of the experimentation areas that Tian has just been talking about, and you should be able to show state-of-the-art related to the application of laser-based processes. So basically, excellence is the technology description. Next, we come to the second criterion, so impact. Impact is about how you can actually impact the industry, right? So we focus here on scalability. If you have any other applications for your experiment in mind in other sectors, so this is exactly as Tian said at the beginning of this webinar, this is up to your creativity. So please describe that in this impact section. Okay. Yeah, what is market potential competition for your experimentation? How you differentiate from the competition? Your initial business model, and you should also give us some information about the know-how and technology transfer between academia and industry in the case of your experiments. And of course, there are those impact criteria which are common for all EU-funded projects connected with environment and low carbon, economic contribution, equal opportunities, and social impact as well. And implementation, this criterion, this section of the application form is where you tell us what you actually plan to do during that support program. As you may have seen in one of the slides, the support program is divided into 3 stages. So there is the technology development, which will be more focused on the technology provider, probably. The second stage, and the technology development is the longest stage of the support program. It takes 6 months. Then we have the second stage, proof of concept, when the actual experiment is being performed, and it takes 5 months. And there's the last stage, scalability. So in this section, please remember about those stages. Think about what you plan to do in each of those stages, and what you would actually like to achieve. So here we'll ask for the main actions. Your main actions will ask for what kind of KPIs you will want to reach. And the external evaluators will also look at how ambitious and realistic those KPIs are. and how relevant to your experiment. So yeah, our advice is always to use the SMART rule for establishing the KPIs. We'll also ask for the risks you foresee and how you plan to mitigate them, and what you need to perform the experiment, what kind of resources, what kind of support from the competence centers that are PULSATE partners, right? So actually in this section, you may want to have a look at the list of services offered by under PULSATE, and you can find this list in Annex 2 of the Guide for Applicants. You can also find it on the PULSATE project website under the services section. Also, if you already have an idea at the stage of writing a proposal, which competence center would most suit your needs or would be able to provide the support, you can also mention that. And as Diane said, that would make the mentor matching at a later stage much easier. Yeah, here you also describe the consortium team and the budget. So a few words about the budget, how to calculate it, how to approach it. As you know, the total funding available per experiment is 150,000 euros. And within the budget, we've got certain cost categories, which are typical cost categories in EU-funded projects again. So there are personnel costs, travel costs, consumables. So if you need any equipment, you can include it in consumables. Then you calculate the sum of 1, 2, and 3. And the 25% of the sum are the overheads, and this is a standardized rate, 25% of personal, travel, and consumables. Then we've got subcontracting. So this is what I mentioned when I was talking about research and technology organizations, which are not eligible under this open call. But if you need some kind of external services, then you can do it through subcontracting. But then the cost of subcontracting may not go over 15% of personal, travel, consumables, and overheads together. So then the next position in the budget is the total costs, and the requested amount. So the maximum that PULSATE project may fund is 70% of your total costs, right? You will find a detailed budget calculation and cost references in the frequently asked questions document on the open call website. So please have a look how this is calculated and what this 70% of total costs means, because this is very important. And there is one more crucial piece of information here. If you are coming to us from another project under I4MS, or you have already received funding under PULSATE, or you have already received funding under SAE, Smart Anything Everywhere project, there is the maximum funding limit. So the maximum funding limit for those 3 projects is 100,000 euro. So if you have already received some funding and apply to PULSATE open call, you are successful, then the maximum you can get cannot exceed 100,000 euro in total for those 3 projects. Yes, so these are the funding limits: 150k euro per experiment, 100k euro per company in all those open calls. There is one more criterion in the application form, which is not scored, but it's also very important in EU-funded project. These are ethics. Under the link at the bottom of the slide, if you are not sure, you can perform some kind of ethical self-assessment. And just a small comment, the most common issues are related to handling personal data or possible military applications of your experiment. And in that case, PULSATE Consortium Ethical Committee issues recommendations. You usually need to sign a short statement that the outcomes of the projects are not going to be misused in any way, and that's it. But this section is also very important, right? So coming back to the open call website and what kind of reference materials and help and links you may find there. So first of all, even before you start filling in the application form, we strongly recommend visiting the Read First section on the open call website and the Get Help section. In the Read First section, you'll find the guide for applicants, which is obligatory reading before you apply. You will find the overview of the application forms. So actually, you can start preparing your application form offline. But please remember that we accept submissions only via the online form. You can also find some information about the first open call winners, so you can see what kind of experiments are on the support program now. You will find another very important document, frequently asked questions. So this is the document where you will find, for example, an example of a budget calculation, and soon we'll also be uploading here the draft of the subgrant agreement. Okay, so this is like your first contact point, the Read First section. If you have any questions, you can also send us an email to pulsate.help@fundingbox.com. You can also ask your questions in PULSATE Community Help Desk. This is another way where you'll find help. And we also encourage you to go to the Get Help section, where you find information about our webinars, our info days, local info days, also run by our partners, PULSATE partners. The next webinar, closer to the open call deadline, where we'll answer all your questions and give you some final tips, will take place, I think, on the 13th of July. So it should appear in this section very soon with the registration link. But also, please remember to check the project website and the upcoming events, because we also publish all webinars and any other events like the matchmaking event there. Okay, so these are places where you can find all the reference and registration links. Okay, right. So I guess this is time for questions, if we have any. Alessandra?
Hi, thank you, Maria and Tian, for the very clear presentation. I cannot see any question from the attendance today, so I suppose everything is quite clear, and maybe we can wrap up and just go ahead. Yeah.
Okay then. Right, Tian, anything to add?
No, not really. I guess that means that we did a good job in explaining the whole thing, so there's no questions.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Of course, we'll be publishing the video of this webinar also on the OpenCall website in the Get Help section, so you can also go back to the webinar if needed. Please apply before the 29th of July. You can always submit your application and later edit it. So it's better to submit earlier and then edit it than like missing the deadline, which is again the 29th of July at 5 p.m. Central European Summer Time. So this is the address of the OpenCall website. If you need any help, please send us an email. And I guess this is it. Thank you very much for being with us today, and hope to see your applications in this open call.
Yeah, and good luck, everyone.
Good luck, yes.